Okay? The part I can't shake is that quiet morning after Phoebe is gone. Not the screaming, not the police, not even Chase and Brooklyn realizing something has happened. It's that tiny space before the panic fully lands, when the house still looks normal, when everything is where it should be, except the one thing that matters most. Phoebe is missing, and I can't help but feel that General Hospital is setting this up to hurt in a very specific way. Because Chase and Brooklyn have been trying so hard to become Phoebe's foster parents. I've watched them step into this with hope, with fear, with that careful kind of love people show when they know they might not get to keep what they're already attached to. And that's what makes this feel so cruel. Things were moving in the right direction. Not perfectly, because nothing in Port Charles ever moves perfectly, but it felt like they were being allowed to breathe for a second, just a second. And then this shadow around Ethan starts creeping closer. There's something about Ethan's return that doesn't sit right with me. I know he's never been simple. Ethan walking back into town and immediately wanting to become Sonny's reliable right hand is already strange enough. That's not a casual move. That's not a man who just came back to reconnect or wander through old memories. It feels like he came back with a purpose. Maybe more than one purpose. And maybe I'm overthinking this, but I keep wondering if Sonny is the cover story, not the real story. Because then there's Delilah. That name changes the temperature of everything for me. The fact that Ethan may have another huge secret tied to the late Delilah makes me think this isn't just about power or money or some old grudge. It feels more intimate than that, more buried, more dangerous because it's emotional. When a dead person's name is connected to a living child, I start paying attention in a different way. I start asking what was hidden, who knew, who lied, and who has been carrying a truth they were never supposed to carry. And then Phoebe enters the center of it. It's possible that Ethan is connected to Phoebe in a way nobody fully understands yet. It's possible that he's her father. I know that sounds dramatic, but on this show, secrets don't stay in the past just because people want them to. They grow, they wait, they become children with names and faces and futures. And if Ethan really is Phoebe's father, then the question becomes almost unbearable for me. Why wouldn't he just say it? Why not walk in, tell the truth, fight legally, claim his daughter, face whatever consequences come with it? That's where I get stuck. I could be wrong, but I don't think Ethan avoiding the truth would mean he doesn't love Phoebe. I think it could mean the truth is dangerous. Maybe if people know Phoebe is his daughter, she becomes a target. Maybe Delilah's death is not as clean as it seems. Maybe Ethan knows something about Delilah that would make Phoebe's identity a threat to more than just one person. Or maybe Ethan himself is the threat, and that's the part I don't want to accept too quickly, because what if he wants Phoebe, but he doesn't want the world to know why? That thought keeps circling back. I keep coming back to the idea that Ethan may be trying to take his daughter without being seen as her father, not because he doesn't care, but because claiming her publicly would open a door he's terrified to open. It sounds backward, I know. It sounds wrong. But Port Charles has taught me that people will do terrible things for reasons they tell themselves are loving. Kidnapping a child could be dressed up in his mind as protection, a rescue, a desperate correction of something he believes was stolen from him. And that makes it even worse. If Phoebe disappears and Chase and Brooklyn don't realize it until morning, then whoever takes her either knows their routine or has been watching closely or had help. That detail bothers me. Babies don't just vanish in a vacuum. Someone gets access. Someone knows when the house is quiet. Someone knows how to move without waking the people who have already placed their whole hearts around this child. And if Ethan is involved, I have to ask how long he's been planning it. Maybe he returned to town because of Phoebe. Maybe Sonny was just the way to get positioned, protected, informed. If Ethan becomes useful to Sonny, he gets proximity to power. He gets resources. He gets people assuming his business is criminal or strategic, not personal. That would be clever. Too clever, maybe. But Ethan has always had that edge to him, that ability to make one thing look like another. Still, there's Jacinda. I don't know why, but I feel like Jacinda may be the one who sees the crack first. The idea that she could be the person to suspect Ethan makes sense to me, especially if her past in Australia overlaps with his. Australia feels like more than a background detail now. It feels like a locked room. Jacinda, Ethan, Delilah, three names that might not belong together on the surface but somehow feel tangled underneath. There could be a shared history there, a secret pregnancy, a cover-up, a promise made to Delilah, a betrayal after her death. I'm not saying I know. I don't. But the truth may be more complicated than it looks. And if Jacinda knows even part of it, she may not understand what she knows until Phoebe is gone. That's a very General Hospital kind of horror to me. Someone holds a memory, a warning, a strange look, a name from years ago, and only after the damage begins do they realize it was a clue. I can picture Jacinda hesitating before saying Ethan's name, not because she's protecting him exactly, but because accusing him means admitting the past is not finished. Maybe she knew Delilah. Maybe she knew Ethan and Delilah together. Maybe she knows there was a child, or suspects there was. Maybe she has been trying not to connect Phoebe to any of it because once she does, everything becomes real. And then Chase and Brooklyn would be left in the worst position imaginable, not just terrified for Phoebe, but questioning whether the baby they were trying to love and protect had a whole hidden identity around her. I think that would devastate Brooklyn in a very particular way. She has fought for family, for belonging, for the chance to nurture something stable. And Chase, with all his order and duty and goodness, would probably blame himself for not seeing it sooner. That breaks my heart because, honestly, how could they see it? How could they know that Ethan's secrets might reach into their nursery? But then again, maybe that's the point. Maybe this storyline is not only about Phoebe being taken. Maybe it's about how adults make decisions around a child while telling themselves they are doing what's best. Chase and Brooklyn want to foster her because they love her and want to keep her safe. Ethan may want to take her because he believes she belongs with him. Jacinda may expose him because she thinks the truth has waited long enough. And somewhere in all of that, Phoebe becomes the center of everyone's fear, grief, guilt, and need. I can't help but feel that Delilah's death is the missing piece. Not just her life, not just her connection to Ethan, but the circumstances around why she is gone and why Phoebe ended up where she did. If Delilah kept Phoebe from Ethan, why? If Ethan knew about Phoebe, why did he stay away? If he didn't know, who kept that from him? And if he only recently found out, did grief turn into panic? Did he decide the system would never give him a chance? Did he decide that Chase and Brooklyn were already too loved by Phoebe, too close, too safe, and that if he waited, he would lose her forever? There's something painfully human in that, even if the act itself would be unforgivable. I don't want to make excuses for Ethan. If he takes Phoebe, he is causing real terror. He is ripping a child out of the arms of people who are trying to protect her. But I also don't think the writers would bring Ethan back with this much mystery just to make him a flat villain. There has to be a wound. There has to be a reason he can't say out loud. There has to be something about Delilah that explains why he would choose secrecy over truth. Or maybe I'm giving him too much credit. Maybe Ethan wants control. Maybe Phoebe is not only his daughter, but also leveraging something bigger. Maybe his interest in Sunny is connected to a threat he's trying to outrun, and Phoebe is part of that threat. Maybe taking her is not a father's desperate move, but a strategic one. That possibility makes me uncomfortable because it turns the whole thing colder. It turns Phoebe from a child he loves into a piece on the board. And I don't want that to be true, but I can't ignore it. What if Ethan's secret with Delilah is not that he loved her, but that he failed her? That's the darker thought I keep pushing away. If Delilah trusted him and he betrayed her, then Phoebe might be the living reminder of that betrayal. If he abandoned Delilah or made a choice that led to her death, then maybe claiming Phoebe publicly would expose him. Maybe kidnapping her is not about love at all. Maybe it's about controlling the last witness to a truth that can still hurt him, even if she's too young to speak it. And yet, if that were the case, why does this feel so emotional? That's what keeps me from settling on one answer. Ethan's actions may look suspicious, but the emotional weight around Phoebe, Delilah, and Jacinda feels too layered for a simple explanation. I think we're being asked to look at the gaps. The time in Australia. The reason Jacinda may know more than she's saying. The way Ethan's return lines up too neatly with Phoebe's uncertain future. The way Chase and Brooklyn's happiness arrives just before something threatens to tear it apart. I can feel the story tightening. And still, I don't want to pretend any of this is certain. It's all speculation. Maybe Ethan won't be the kidnapper. Maybe someone wants us to look at him because he's already mysterious. Maybe Jacinda's suspicions will be wrong, or half right, which is sometimes worse. Maybe Ethan is protecting Phoebe from someone else entirely, and taking her is the only terrible option he thinks he has. But if Phoebe vanishes in the night, and Ethan is connected to Delilah, and Jacinda is the one who starts pointing toward him, then I have to ask...